Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagined podcast, where I share helpful tips and resources to make caring for your loved one easier so you can still pursue your dreams in your online business. I'm your host, Melissa Miller, and in today's episode, I'll be sharing the importance of being prepared and having a plan in place before the need arises, be it as a caregiver or as a business owner. Whether you're managing your business or providing care for a loved one, being prepared is essential. It's not about having a plan, it's about having a plan, excuse me, that works for you in addressing the needs of your loved one and yourself and your clients, as well as preventing and decreasing the stress that comes with these roles and when unexpected things happen that are out of your control. So, why is it important to have a plan before something happens? Well, if there's anything that I've learned in my own business, it's that planning gives you structure. It gives you a map to follow, which decreases your stress and helps you stay focused, organized, and proactive. Having a plan as a caregiver means really understanding your loved one's illness by documenting and reporting any changes with their medical condition to their doctors and specialists, and also being prepared in advance with having their basic medical history documented somewhere in advance of a medical emergency. Because remember, when we're in the height of an emergency situation, our body goes into survival mode and we can't remember or think clearly half the time. So, having it all written down and knowing where to find that information will give you peace of mind and keep your stress level at a low roar. But then on the other side, on the other side, having a plan as an entrepreneur means having a clear vision of your goals. Taking that time to really write out your tasks and your goals and your vision for your business, and doing it on a calendar really is important because then you can create a schedule, you can select due dates and deadlines. Because when we just say, oh, we're going to sit down and work and we're going to get this done at some point, that's not really carrying the vision. That's not really taking your business seriously. That's not um, creating results faster, is it? It's just procrastinating, and it's not taking your business seriously. So having deadlines, having due dates really gives you the drive and the motivation to get things done sooner than later. And the first step that you need the first step you need to do when you're creating a plan is to be realistic with the season that you're in. As a caregiver entrepreneur, you are in a unique situation. You're already dealing with a lot of stress and new skills that you're having to learn as an entrepreneur in of itself, right? But then you tack on also having to learn a lot of new skills to care for your loved one. That creates a lot more stress. And obviously, as caregivers and entrepreneurs, there's only so much we can get done in a day. And if you're in a season where your loved one is declining, or they're not stable yet with a good solid treatment plan, maybe that means right now you're not going to focus heavily on your business. Maybe it's going to be just picking one or two things and focus, so that way you have more time to focus on your business or on your care on your loved one. Okay, seasons change, and just because you're focusing more on your loved one right now and less on the business to some degree, that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, some ideas of what you might need to look at as a caregiver might be um, assessing the level of care your loved one needs. Can you handle everything right now? Or do you need to look at investing in some services from home health or hospice? Excuse me, I had to tickle my throat there, guys. That could benefit your ability to not burn out, to not be as stressed, and to just improve your loved one's quality of life. Because with like home health, for example, they have, besides doctors and nurses, they have occupational therapists and physical therapists. So if your loved one's just needing a little bit of extra care to get their strength and mobility and improve their mobility back, that might be the best thing for you, because then that gives you a better ground on being able to care for your loved one, because they can participate. They're keeping their core strong. They're being able to move. They're being able to transfer. They're being able to walk. That makes it a lot easier than when you're having for you to care for your loved one with their ADLs, like bathing and dressing and transfers and walking, than if they're really relying on you and solely dependent on you to do everything for them, because then that again puts a lot of physical toll on your back, your shoulders, your knees. It impacts your body physically a lot faster. So that's just something to think about. As an entrepreneur, maybe because your loved one, if you're in a season where your loved one is needing a lot of extra care right now because either their illness is progressing and they're declining, or your loved one hasn't found a solid treatment plan yet, maybe right now it means just focusing on one area of your business. I did this when I came back to work in October after my husband or after my father passed. I just solely focused on the podcast because that kept me going and connecting with my listeners and my clients by email, being on social media and promoting my work, and also just creating the content, creating new content, new episodes. But it was what I could handle. So still was on social media. I still was involved with my email list, but it wasn't a bigger project that I could not handle in that season, like a summit or a bundle or like a massive launch to take on new clientele into my membership. So think about that. What do you realistically have the bandwidth to handle in your business journey right now? And then once you have a clear understanding of what your loved one needs, what you need, what you can realistically handle for the season of caregiving and entrepreneurship that you are in, it's time to start making a plan. So maybe if we're going back to the example of starting to leverage home health or hospice services for your loved one, maybe it's time to start making those phone calls to your loved one's primary doctor, and getting the referrals you need so you can be able to hire the appropriate uh, home health or hospice agency that goes along with your loved one's insurance. And again, and remember with that, I will say too, is that insurance will allocate certain amounts of hours for home health or hospice agencies. And maybe in the season that you're in, you don't need the full allotment of hours, or maybe you do. So know that there's room to tweak and adjust per your loved one's needs, per your needs as a caregiver. Maybe right now you use the full. If they get 4 hours a week, maybe you use the full hours, 4 hours. Maybe you don't and you start with one, but then maybe down the road in 2 months, maybe you're in a situation where it would be better to have more hours. So just know that there is that flexibility in home health and hospice services, and that they work in tandem together. My father started on home health services, but when he declined and progressed right before he passed away, we transitioned him onto hospice for more palliative care and better pain management, etc. And but we were also told when we did transition him to hospice, because we didn't know what was going to happen. You never know what happens when you go one way or the other. You don't have a crystal ball to foresee into the future. They did tell us that, hey, if he starts to improve, we can always transition him back off of hospice onto home health. And then again, like if he starts to decline again on home health, we can always put him back on hospice again. So know that those two resources work together and that they are at your disposal as a caregiver. But then let's talk about a plan that you might be doing for your business. Maybe it's, besides pulling back on how much you're doing in your business right now in terms of projects, maybe it's just focusing on that one thing and not doing bigger networking things like a bundle or a summit or a massive launch. Maybe it's doing a smaller product thing like a flash sale. Maybe it's just simply getting a better handle on your system flow. So when you sit down to work at your desk, it's with intention. You know what you're going to be working on for that allotted amount of time. So maybe for you right now is taking the time to create a system for managing your daily, weekly, and monthly tasks, and then putting due dates or deadlines on each of those tasks, so you give yourself only a small amount of time to get them done, so you don't keep procrastinating, so it still gets done. And then also too, you also have a system for finding that information or finding that piece of content again for repurposing later. So if you do get into another season where your loved one is needing more of your time, but you still want to put content out there and share your story, share your work, you can go back and then pull past pieces of content and just schedule them out to go again, be it an email, a blog post, or maybe it's a series of social media posts, or maybe it's doing a flash sale on a previous workshop. There's lots of possibilities, but taking the time to create a system for how you're going to create your content, how you're going to save your content, and giving yourself deadlines of when that stuff needs to get done is really important. Otherwise, it just becomes a hobby. It just becomes you just procrastinate and you don't move the needle forward on that overall, like we talked about a few minutes ago, vision that you have and goals that you have for your business. And also remember, like with any plan, be it as a caregiver or a business owner, things will change. Okay. So every so often, know that these plans aren't set in stone. It doesn't, just because you set up a plan this week or this month, means that it has to be the plan for the rest of your loved one's life or the rest of your online career. That's not reality. Things change. So look at it every so often to see, okay, what's working? Is my system for keeping track of my loved one's medical history and medications working for me? Or do I need to tweak it to make it a little easier and more streamlined? Is the method I use to schedule my daily, weekly, monthly tasks working? Or do I need to revamp that? Do I need to maybe just pull back on my workload with my business altogether again because my loved one's health is declining or it's just really unpredictable and unstable and I need to allocate more time for them versus my business? Or could I maybe just, do I need to work on maybe just streamlining things more where it's on autopilot, where it's more hands off, where you have things automated to where your content is still going out, but you don't have to go in and you don't have to go in and manually schedule it every day, right? And one way that can help you do that in terms of just kind of automating or even just keeping track of things is leveraging technology. Technology has drastically changed the way we plan and we organize our lives, be it personally or professionally, which is great. And it really allows us to just streamline our schedules and our to-do lists in so many ways. So, a couple examples for you. Google Calendar is by far my favorite tool for my appointments and my schedule because I have a lot going on. I have a daughter in school, we have church activities, we have medical appointments, and then I have business meetings. So I really love with Google Calendar is that it's accessible both on my phone and my computer, and I can set custom reminders days, weeks, months, or even just an hour or half hour before something to remind me of what's coming up. I personally like to set reminders a day in advance so I know what's coming up the next day. That's what's less stressful for me. But for you, maybe it works better to have a day in advance notice and then maybe a reminder like an hour or two before something. So that way you don't forget, you're just getting repeatedly reminded. In terms of as a business owner for actually coming up with a plan for tracking and planning out your daily, weekly, monthly tasks and saving your content for future use or big projects. If you're doing like a flash sale, a summit or a bundle, or just a launch for your own course or workshop or membership, I love Notion. Again, Notion is free and it's accessible both on your phone and your computer. And I love that it has really streamlined how I do my planning because I love the layout and the format in terms of being able to duplicate pages and also just creating custom templates. So being able to create a planning system that works and makes sense to my brain has been super helpful. And regardless of what digital tools you decide to use, the important thing I want you to bear in mind, guys, is that you choose something that does make sense to your brain. Do you like something that has a calendar view? Do you like something that's more like a Cannon board, where you like Trello, for example, where it's not necessarily where you don't see things in, say, a calendar or a list view? It's boards. So you have these different boards, and then you can slide them across to another section of and categorize it by, say, done, not done, need to do. But or do you like being in a calendar view where you can see like the whole month and seeing all the different tasks and then just checking them off as you go? There's lots of different options. There's lots of different softwares besides Google Calendar and Notion, but those are two that I personally like. But I want you to kind of dig and do what works for you. And then while you're doing all this, because I know taking time to plan, create a system, especially if it's a system that's new, it can feel overwhelming. Okay. But I want you to also bear in mind too that it's not a one size fits all. It's an organic process. It'll change. How I do things now in my business almost 4 years in is way different than I did 3 years ago, and that's fine. But just remember that having a plan doesn't take away your problems. It's there to help you better navigate the challenges and problem solve the challenges or the problems when they come up, okay? Because let's face it, life as a caregiver is challenging. Life as a business owner is challenging. And I really hope that some of the tips I've shared with you today will help ease your stress and help you just thrive in your journey as a caregiver and a business owner. And if there's anything else I've also learned, when you're trying to implement something new, when you're going through a rough phase of your journey, having people around you that are like-minded, that get what you're going through is gold. It's gold. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, Melissa, I like these ideas that you're throwing out, but I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start, or I like the ideas that you're sharing, but I'm still kind of not sure about how to implement them, how to get started. If that is you, I want to help you. Below, wherever you're watching, on my blog, on Spotify or Apple, on my YouTube channel, there's a link to book a free 30-minute coaching support call where we can just hop on a call on Zoom and or on Google Meet, excuse me, on Google Meet and just chat. We can talk about whether it's caregiving or self-care or um, business related. I want to help you come up with some systems that work for you and get you started. Okay. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about trying to solve all your problems. It's about at least implementing and getting started with something that you can consistently do long term to give you a strong foundation as a caregiver, as a business owner, so you don't burn out, you don't deal with you bring your stress level down, and you are able to be there. You can be there 100% present in mind, body, soul for your loved one, for your clients, and also for yourself. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you've been tuning into my podcast. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. This is the first episode for season 4. So definitely be watching and staying close for more updates about season 4. All right, guys, take care.